everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human First podcast, hosted by me, Gabriel Tice. I'm the director in digital marketing of Roadmap Writers.
GT Cruz. I am the head of TikTok on Roadmap Writers. So go give us a follow there.
I'm Nicole Betts. I'm currently vitamin clerk at Sprouts, Canyon Country. Come visit me in the vitamins department. I don't know what I'm talking about, but
And Nicole was also
oh, writer in one lifetime. Yes, TV writer.
Yes, and she's going to be getting a flashback of that writing life really soon.
I am. Very excited about our guest today.
why don't you introduce our guest, Nicole?
Oh, yes, we are talking to the very talented Robia Rashid. She is my former boss and current friend. She has written on How I Met Your Mother, The Goldbergs, this show called The Loop that I don't know if any of you will remember, but if you do, you're probably like, oh, hell yeah. Um, she also, I know she writes movies. She has an overall. She's just unbelievably talented, and it was a privilege really learning how to write TV through her. So she's next level.
Yeah, and she was the creator of
Yeah.
Netflix's Atypical, which is where you two worked, right?
Yes, that's the show important to you. I forgot to mention it. Yes, that's one of Netflix's first original shows.
Not as important to you, though, Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. I loved it. I was the only show I've ever worked on where I worked on like multiple seasons. Um, Started as a script coordinator on season 2, then got promoted to staff writer season 3 and story editor season 4. So I was with it for quite a bit, and I learned so much about autism that it had never occurred to me, and so I feel like a better person because of the experience, and I miss it. I miss it tremendously.
Yeah, that was a big show
Yeah.
in my orbit. I remember when that got announced, because we've had these discussions here at Roadmap about neurodivergent representation. We've done some initiatives for Neurodiversity Celebration Month, which is April.
hmm
So you can go check out some of our previous webinars and some of our blogs where we chat with neurodivergent writers and execs.
Check out some of our clips on TikTok because we have clips there from all those talks.
Hell yeah, GC. I just like to test, just make sure he plugs the TikTok at
Yeah,
all appropriate
at all
times.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's my, a huge reason why I'm so thrilled to talk to Robia today. I should also mention I binged all of How I Met Your Mother in like a 7-day period when it first dropped on Netflix. So I definitely have a history with a lot of the things that she has worked on. But yeah, Atypical, even just with the kind of mission statement of it from the outset, before it even released, just the fact that there was going to be a really sincere, earnest, very sensitively handled portrayal of autism, in this very cute, sweet, I would say sitcom adjacent manner. You know, for me, that was huge because there was just only a few archetypes of autism out there in media, and it, we'll get into it because I'm really interested to hear about Robbie's process of approaching representation there. But yeah, just from the outset, I have to say that that was a huge reason why I was so excited to talk to our guest today.
Yeah. No, it's obviously when you deal with a topic like autism or something, you sometimes you can devolve into the melodramatic, and Rabia really tried to make sure that it felt light, and real, and wasn't just always like an after school special. Yeah, it was like,
Yes. Yeah.
so that was one thing I really like respected about her. I was like, yeah. And I even still to this day try to do things not so dramatically,
You
writing
can't
wise.
take yourself too seriously, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think off air I called this the silly goose brigade, which we don't
That's re-
want stern geese around here.
Honk honk.
We
yeah.
don't.
Yeah. No,
That
no.
should be the name of the podcast, really.
Yeah.
That could be the name of my book. not a book that exists, but a book that I'm telling myself I will eventually write one day.
And then turn into a movie.
Hey, there's an idea.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Well, before our guest joins us, we're going to take a sponsorship break. And in our case, our sponsor is us, Roadmap Writers. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of 3 Questions with Roadmap Execs. Today we're talking to Mitchell Bendersky of Expectation Management. His clients have worked on projects such as Are You Afraid of the Dark, Apple TV's Physical, and Riverdale. Question 1. What impresses you most about a screenplay?
I would say the voice. I think a really cool and specific personality, POV, something that really helps me understand more of who the writer is, even if I've never met them in my life, is always something that excites me in a script.
What is reoccurring advice that you give to writers?
I would say right now, try and write something that will not only save someone money, but make them money. So while doing something that really adheres to your voice and your individuality and what you're really passionate about, and making sure that that part doesn't feel compromised, writing something that you feel like is also very easy for someone to take to their boss, to then take to their boss, then take to someone else, and say, hey, like this is it. This is a hit people are gonna like. And that's always tricky, blending art and commerce, but I think something that I'm emphasizing a little bit more in these contracting times, I would say, is really focusing on what that hook is. Is there that 5-second log line that you can easily explain to someone and really get them on board? Is it easy to cast? Does it feel contemporary and relevant to the modern day?
What's your favorite thing about working with Roadmap Writers?
My favorite thing, I think, is the diversity of the types of writers that you guys work with. I think there's all sorts of tones, all sorts of genres, all sorts of backgrounds. It feels really cool not knowing, who you guys or Joey's gonna send me next, and always feeling excited about the type of voice that I'm about to check out.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Like we said before the break, we have a very special guest today. Showrunner, TV writer, all-around badass, Robia Rashid. Thank you for being with us today, Robia. We're all very excited.
Thank you for having me. Nicole, you are absolutely one of my favorite people on the planet. So I would do anything you asked me to do.
Including this. Thank you. No, I love it. I love it. I'm just trying to think of where to start with you because you have done so much. You've accomplished so much. You're very smart. I'm not just saying this. But I think where I would like to start with you I think it's interesting, like I got like a writing degree and I'm like, why did I do that? I should have got a business degree and did writing on the side. You, however, you went to grad school and it actually helped launch your career or it gave you that like stepping stone, right?
Sure did.
Yeah.
It actually helped me launch everything. It launched my marriage. It launched my career. I met my husband there. I made a lot of really lifelong friends, and I took a class with a working TV writer who was just kind of taking a break, decided to teach a class at NYU, and she submitted my spec to her agent. And that got me my first job on the last season of the first iteration of Will and Grace.
Do you mind telling them what your spec script was? Because I love this about you.
It was a Family Guy. The Family Guy script.
That was my first spec too, but it didn't do that for me. I love it.
I know, it's so amazing because I always think of you as like the closest version to me that I've met in this business in terms of like our writing style and the way that we are in a room. So
yeah,
funny that we had the same spec.
No, I love that.
I'm babysitting my friend's little dog, so if you hear some angry barks, it's not me.
My dog already angry barked at the first part of that podcast, so
I was going to say, I just hope that GT's dog doesn't hear your dog, and we have a bark off going on.
Yeah, I already kicked my dog out the room. She was being bad.
Good.
I love to hear when film school pays off. I hold on to those little nuggets of hope.
Interview. and then drove back to LAX and flew back to New York. And then I graduated the next day. And then later that week, I found out I got the job. And believe me, as you know, this is not a typical story. And my classmates were quite resentful for a while.
Well, that's too bad. You had something they didn't. No.
It was an atypical story, if you will.
It was an atypical story.
Oh, geez. That's where the sound effect goes.
I know.
No,
Get a sound effect, Gabriel.
okay.
I have my wah machine ready to go right here.
No, but
I don't know if that was worthy of a but if I'm feeling generous, maybe. All right, so Will and Grace, where does How I Met Your Mother come into the timeline?
I worked steadily after Will and Grace. So I got a job. My second job was on a show called The Loop, which was kind of short-lived show on Fox. So fun. And I met some of my favorite people. We still, I mean, that was close to 20 years ago, and we still meet for dinners, the writers and some of the cast, because it was just a delightful group of people and some of my best friends still. And in fact, Sam Laybourne, who I met on that show, is who connected me to Nicole years and years later. And then I worked on a show called Aliens in America. Sam and I both moved over there and shared an office. He helped me plan my wedding.
Oh.
And then How I Met Your Mother. So I found out my agent came to my wedding and told me I got the job on the day of my wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Graduation, wedding.
Your gifts are fantastic.
And in there was the first writer strike. So the 2007 writer strike. So that was another sort of, I really think about that a lot lately, because I was early enough in my career where if that had gone on too long, we would have had to pack it in or do something completely different. So yeah, that was hard. So that getting that job and How I Met Your Mother was really a lifesaver in a lot of ways.
Did you get it before or after the 2007 strike?
Right after.
Wow. Amazing. I know it took you like multiple years to get Atypical off the ground, right? It took you a little bit to get that going?
Well, no. So one thing I did was I worked on other people's shows. I did something that I don't think people do as much anymore, which is I worked straight on other people's comedies for 10 years without developing. I really didn't try, maybe one or two times, but like I didn't even know that I was doing something that was slightly abnormal. My agent was just very happy because I kept getting staffed, and I'm good in a room. I love being on staff, so I loved it. But then at a certain point, I was like, well, I'd really like to develop a show. And so at that point, I switched agents, and almost everybody I know has had two agents, because there's the one that sort of finds you as a baby writer, and then there's the one that kind of recognizes you once you've gone through writer puberty a little bit, like once you're a little bit more grown up. And so I found this new agent, and I had written a play. And here's the thing is, like, there's a lot of sort of lucky moments where things work out in my story, but also I am always writing. So the second anyone calls me to say, you have this interview, or there's this person who wants to meet you, or whatever, I always have stuff to show. And that's what I say to younger writers too, is like, that's the only thing we can really control. So I always make sure I have stuff. So I had a play. This agent really liked it. He gave it to Sony Studios, and they signed me in an overall deal. And then the first thing I wrote was a pilot called Antarctica, which turned into Atypical. We changed the name to Atypical. But so I was pregnant, wrote this thing. Everybody passed. Every network passed. They all said no. I had the baby. Then the baby was 5 weeks old, and Sony called me back and said Netflix changed their mind. And they had decided to open up sort of a new department for, the idea was like teenagers and their parents can watch these shows together. And Atypical was the first one of those. So that was exciting. But then I think what you're thinking about, Nicole, is the pickup was contingent on casting Sam, the main character, and his mom. And that casting takes a really long time. So, you send it to one person, you send one person at a time. And when you do that, you wait for like a month for them to read it. So I actually got Keir Gilchrist pretty quickly, the actor who played Sam, even though we looked at a lot of different people, both on the spectrum and not on the spectrum. But then casting Jennifer Jason Leigh took a lot longer. But eventually, I think probably less than a year, which actually doesn't seem like that long in retrospect, we got the green light. And it was straight to series, which was exciting because I had almost entirely been on network, not streaming shows. So the idea of like not having to shoot a pilot and just going straight to series was very exciting. It was also like kind of crazy to be writing it, but also casting, the season regulars like the dad. And so, yeah.
I just want to say all of your success kind of revolves around like these major life moments for you.
Yeah.
Graduating, getting married, having a kid.
100%. It's so annoying.
Because you're like, if I want to sell another show, I got to have another kid. Like,
right. I mean, yeah, it's really annoying. I wish it could be one at a time.
But it's also very scripty, like the way like major events, major plot points coincide with, the protagonist's journey through life.
Yeah. It's dramatic. My life is dramatic at times.
Yeah. My just on that, my sister had a baby like right when the pandemic hit. So like everything got shut down, like the hospital was shut down, and she was like one of the only people like on the floors. And I told her, you're that tropey woman who like who starts having a baby as the zombies are at the door, and so they have to deal with like giving birth while like surviving the zombie horde. I was like,
yeah.
that's just completely how it lined up.
Well,
no, that is how I also had a baby at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay, so you're also a zombie.
She has a 5-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah, it did feel like apocalyptic, and in fact, my kid, so I have the older one who's 10 and him who's 5. I don't think he realized that there were others like him. So we were on the beach. He was like 18 months old, and he saw another baby, and it like blew his mind. It was the first time he had seen another person his size.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a strange time to have offspring.
Definitely.
Now I'm curious, how did you meet Nicole?
Nicole was did you start as script coordinator?
I did, yes.
My script coordinator on season 1. Season 1? Season 2? Season 2.
Yeah.
So DJ was, our other friend was season 1, and Nicole was season 2. And I've worked on enough shows and seen enough writers' assistants work super hard for years and years and years with no benefit to have decided by the time I ran a show that like one of my main goals is to promote people. It's just so hard to get a foot in otherwise. So DJ was our script coordinator season 1. Season 2, he was a writer on the show. And then same with Nicole. So she was our script coordinator season 2, and season 3, I promoted her to be a writer on the show.
Yeah. Which similarly to you, well, I was living in New Jersey when I interviewed for the script coordinating job. But we did it. I didn't have to fly out there. I think we like Zoomed or whatever it was at the time. And then she offered me the job.
On the phone?
No, it was it was some type of video.
Like Skype or something.
Skype.
Yeah.
And then we hung up, and you offered me the job the next day, and I had to get my ass out to LA like that week. So it was fun. My car broke down on the drive out. It was fun. But
one of my biggest strengths as a showrunner, which is also one of my biggest weaknesses as a human being, is I decide about people right away, and I have a very strong gut. And like in life, that's hard because you can be like dismissive if the answer is no in your brain right away. But in staffing, it's very easy. Like the second I met Nicole, I knew she was the one.
Well, I think another interesting, unique thing you've been through was after Atypical was on the air, you got a lot of criticism for Kier not being on the spectrum. And I thought you handled all of that beautifully. Like,
Thank you. Yeah, after the first season, the reviews were really positive, except for the fact that Kier's not on the spectrum, although his performance was almost entirely agreed to be sublime. He's excellent at it. But so I think the criticism was more about not having enough representation. And I actually appreciated that so much. So then season 2 went on, not only did we write in a lot more characters who are on the spectrum, played by actors who are on the spectrum, but also I told my casting people to start auditioning people on the spectrum for any role. So if there's a role of a waitress and it doesn't specify that they should be auditioning people with disabilities for all of these roles, not just on the spectrum, but and that ended up being awesome because we ended up having just a really diverse, I mean, I appreciated that note so much. And then I was at a party at the end of season 2, and there's a woman who I really love who's an autism mom and a real supporter of the show. And she came up to me and she goes, I have to hand it to you. You really know how to take a note. I was like, yeah, I do. I do know how to take a note. I've been doing it long enough. I don't tend to get defensive about notes. And when you're a showrunner, everything is so hard that you're like, I'll take all the help I can get. Just tell me what's wrong and I will try to fix it. And also I kind of know my soul enough to know how to take a note and do it in a way that pleases me instead of feeling like I'm selling out in some way. But anyway, that note was one of the best I've ever gotten in my career because it really made the show so much better. And those actors were just such just continue to be such a delight. As
yeah,
you know, Nicole,
yes, I still hang out with Tal.
Yeah. And Tal wrote that book.
Yeah.
So one of our actors was on the spectrum, wrote a book with our consultant who is also on the spectrum, and they sent it to me. And it's just been it started a lovely thing, a lovely community, that note.
Yeah, this segues into oh, sorry, G2.
No, go ahead.
It's one of the big things I wanted to ask you about, Rabia, because as someone on the spectrum, I remember when Atypical came out, and I remember immediately it felt like it was a show that had a huge mission statement of bringing really sincere, thoughtful representation to a group that really felt like it had been defined by stereotypes. There had been well-meaning, attempts at representation, like Rain Man. That's the big example, right? But I remember just how even when the trailer dropped and it was announced and we saw the tone of the show and how much it was about family life with an autistic kid and not putting all of this stigma on that experience, the autistic experience. I remember how much that meant to me. So I wanted to ask.
You're gonna make me cry.
I wanted to. Good. Well, and we got this on camera. That's TikTok content. No. So I really would love to hear more about, especially in the run up to season 1, when you were developing the show, just how you approached your goal of representation. Research or prep. Were there people in your life that you learned from who were on the spectrum or had close friends and family on the spectrum? Just walk us through that if you can.
Yeah, and if I could also piggyback on that, because I had a question of just how you develop the character, because the character seems like it's so far removed from yourself. So how did you? Yeah, so is it or maybe I'm misinterpreting, but is that is it based on someone that you know, or is it sort of an amalgamation of people that you know?
I've never actually thought about whether it's removed from myself, but I actually don't think he is that removed from me in a lot of ways. But he's not an amalgamation of people that I know. I have close people to me that are on the spectrum, but they're very different. And I have family members who are on the spectrum and family members who obviously are in the position of Elsa and Doug, the parents in the show and the siblings in the show. But for him, when I realized, and I've said this before, but when I remember very clearly when I realized I wanted to do his voiceover, I was like very angry at myself because I knew this was going to be hard. But I did a lot. Luckily, and to your point, Gabriel, it's not, there's a lot out there if you want to thoughtfully represent someone on the spectrum. So I just dove in and I listened to podcasts and I looked at websites. At the time, there were websites about like, helping people on the spectrum who wanted to date, or, there was just a lot of sort of young adult content out there, but so I sort of pulled from a lot of that. I remember once I discovered the relationship with his sister, that really helped me. And then the voice was always just super clear to me, which is why I think maybe he's a little closer to me than I originally thought, in terms of how we think about stuff and process the world.
One thing Rabia is really, really good at is just like a vacuum. All this information and all these facts and all these pitches, and she'll take it all in. I was telling him how you can read a book this big in 2 days, and she can just spit out the importance. Like it's just amazing to watch her brain work. All this content, just out comes the like best thing you've ever heard. And that's like pitching to her too. It was like, yeah. Anyway, so I know I could just see you doing all this research and then just bloop bloop the best parts of it.
Once you said grad school, I could picture that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Was there anything in your prep that you found particularly helpful or illuminating about the autistic experience? Podcast, blog, anything that people could find?
Now you're stretching me because this was quite a long time ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I remember I would have to look up. I mean, I know, Nicole, we had a lot of blogs that we used.
Dave Finch's
book was huge. And then, in fact, that was fun because I read that book and then I liked it so much that I used it as set deck. I put it in the therapist's office and he saw it and contacted me, and then we had lunch and then I hired him. He became a consultant on the show.
Of course he saw it.
Yeah. And then what was I feel like there was a couple autism mom blogs that we looked at we loved.
Yeah, and then this college book of going off to college, which I think I still have.
And then there was something something on NPR that I would have to look up, but I listened to something that I remember really, really moved me. But there was a lot. I took in a lot. And like Nicole says, I kind of overload myself with information and then I let it sit there and then something comes out.
I love it. Any more atypical questions? I know Gabriel has been very excited about this interview.
That was a big one. I mean, the other thing that I'm very excited to chat about is How I Met Your Mother, because I mentioned this to my co-hosts off air. I binged that entire show in a 7-day period.
Wow.
Yeah, when it dropped on Netflix. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of seasons.
I might have jumped from certain plot points. There are certain relationships in there that I was less invested in than others. But yeah, definitely did my huge binge watch of that and carried that show around with me for a while. And I wanted to ask, because I saw that you had several credits on that show. So I know that your position changed and evolved. So I would love to hear about the evolution of your responsibilities there. You know, what you were doing at the beginning, what you were doing by the end, and yeah.
Sure. Well, the way the Writers Guild works is you basically have like a different confusing sounding title every year as you move up the ladder, and it really doesn't have anything. It's all writer, you know, staff writer, story editor, executive story editor. They all sound different, but they're not. You're just writer, 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 writer. However, I jumped into How I Met Your Mother at as a mid-level writer. So there were newer writers and there were more experienced writers, and there was me. And that was awesome because the more experienced writers would run the room when the showrunners were gone. The newer writers wouldn't. I would get sent to editing or get sent to set. I covered all the VOs or a lot of the VOs. So I learned so much on that show about how to produce a show. And that 10 years of working on other people's shows, like I basically learned how to be a showrunner during that time. Like I learned, if I hadn't been on How I Met Your Mother, I would have not learned about editing, which is very hard. Editing is a whole other language, and I became really good at it. And that helped us so much on Atypical because I knew exactly what I wanted and I knew how to communicate it. And in the last 2 seasons, I hired our editor from How I Met Your Mother. It was her first single cam show, and it was such a delight to work with her. She's one of my favorite people. So yeah, if that answers your question, I got to do a lot of this sort of producerial stuff because I kind of fell into the middle in terms of experience on the show. So and it was a big staff. It was, I don't know, at any time it was 12 to 14 of us. So you don't need all those people in the room. So I'd be on set a lot. I got to know, I ended up directing episodes of Atypical, and my time on set at How I Met Your Mother really helped with that. Pam Fryman was the director there, and she's an incredible human being and an incredible director. And getting to watch her, I mean, it was invaluable.
Is it difficult to balance the breaking of story in a room and being on set and in the editing booth and trying to sort of figure that out? I've been on shows before where like the showrunner, the creator was mostly in the room, sort of running the story, and then they had like a non-writing like executive producer who was sort of in charge of like the logistics, which seemed to work pretty well for them. But how was your process?
Yes, it's difficult. As a showrunner, you know, for me, it was especially difficult because it was especially the first season, it's really sensitive and you have to portray Sam correctly. And at any point, it could go wrong. I remember at one point, we were all the way through the process and we were just doing sound. And there was a scene where Sam saw some shoes walk by and then his pencil was taken or something, and he was trying to find his pencil. And so he was looking at all the shoes, and they had the VO going, I can't remember exactly, but it was like white Reeboks, right? White Reeboks, white Reeboks. And it was so repetitive that I had to be like, and this is like 99% of the process is over. And I had to be like, no, that's too Rain Man. That's not Sam. That is, and that's kind of specific note is I'm the only one, especially season 1, that's going to give that kind of note. So I really, with this show, had to be there throughout the process. My favorite thing is probably to be on set, but that I had some of my upper level writers do, and they would call me if they needed me. Editing is like really needed me. Like editing is where the show really comes together, and especially when you have a voiceover. So I had to be there for editing. Obviously, I had to be there in the writer's room, so I would split my time a lot with editing in the writer's room. But especially by season 2, and our actors are amazing. amazing. So they didn't need a lot, and we knew what directors we liked. So set was a pretty well-oiled machine, and my writers got to spend a lot of time there. And I hadn't thought about this before, but I think it's cool for them because I'm not sure that happens as much where writers just get to hunker down. What I did was I had 2 or 3 of them, and they would just switch on 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. So they'd be there from, 5 a.m. call until the end of the day for that whole episode.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you were saying how you learned how to be a showrunner by rising through the ranks on other shows. Like that was when streaming just exploded and there was all these shows. They were like, wait, nobody knows how to run a show. So like, but I don't know if we have that problem anymore. I don't know if there's as many shows, but
no, I've suddenly become old school. I don't know how it happened. When I got to Sony, I was like the young thing, and now all my executives are like 10 years younger than me. Yeah.
No, you're still hip. Are you like working on anything right now that's you're excited about? Are you?
I'm finishing a movie that I've been working on for a really long time, and I'm so excited. I've been here in New York for 3 weeks just writing because my oldest is at camp. So I'm just working, and Mike has the little one at home. And I have a comedy that I wrote with Sony. It's a rom-com, and we just cast the lead, although I don't think the deal's done, so I probably shouldn't say it.
Yeah.
But that's really exciting. So we'll see what happens with that.
Is that a movie as well?
No,
Oh,
that's a TV show.
Got it. Yeah.
How many features have you written prior to this script you're working
on? One, and nothing happened with it. So we'll see.
Try again.
So a lot of the shows that you seem to work on seem to have been very progressive for their time. Will and Grace, Aliens in America, Atypical. How does your own personal experience, and your own upbringing sort of feed into that progressive voice?
What a good question. I am mixed race, and I grew up in northern Vermont, which was really white, is really white. And so I'm sure that, plays a part. I've always felt very different. Everywhere I go, I don't feel like there's anyone like me. Even like I remember in college, there's like a strong South Asian group, and I didn't fit in there because I'm half white, and I didn't have none of the religious stuff rang true, and we didn't have a South Asian community growing up. It was just sort of, anyway. So yeah, I think partly I really understand the feeling of otherness, and I didn't have a lot growing up. Like I didn't grow up well, I didn't grow up the way my children are growing up with plenty. So I think that probably, I'm coming from a very specific, a very specific perspective in that way too, socioeconomically. Yeah. So I think I've had a lot of experience with diversity and otherness, and just kind of, it felt like all those topics feel like good fits for me.
I'm very, no, I was just going to say that I can relate very much. So I'm also mixed race. So I also feel like I walk into a room and I don't really know where my place is. So it's a trying kind of, experience to lead.
I'm still feeling, I'm, still like, even though I'm like very sort of therapized, I still feel it all the time.
Yeah, well, I was telling them how like a lot of the rooms you were in, you'd be like kind of the only person of color there, and a woman, and like
right. No, all the time people are like, "Do you know this other female comedy writer?" And I'm like, "Nope," because there's only ever one of us. Like they only hire one of us, maybe two if we're lucky.
So were you? Yeah. So a lot of the times, a lot of the times when you are the only other in the room, like you're sort of looked upon as the the one person who has to encompass all of the questions of everything that is not typical from the makeup that's in the room. Did you feel that as well coming through the ranks?
Uh, I felt that more as a woman, and I also felt that one was also harder. Like I had no problem. Let me see if this is true before I say it. I don't feel like I had as much of a problem calling out when people were being racist, which I didn't have a ton of experience with, but it would be like a little bit of like check your privilege kind of conversations. And I didn't have as much problem with that. But the sexist stuff felt more dangerous and a little more, that stuff I had a harder time with.
Do you have an example, or for instance, or a story that
Sure do.
Give us
I remember there was a time when there was like a weird sound in the writer's room, and we found out it was like a repetitive thumping sound, and we complained about it, and then found out that it was the writer's room downstairs from us had a thing where they were like throwing rocks at a pipe or something. So the writer's assistant came up to apologize. I feel like he brought something, cookies maybe, I don't know. Came up to apologize. And then the rest of this I didn't know until later, but he texted, and I was the only woman in the room. He texted my friend and said, that woman in the room is really hot. And my friend wrote back, she said that if you come in naked, she'll show you her tits. And then the next thing I know, the guy walks in naked. So I didn't know any of this stuff. And it started this like prank war between the two shows. And I had no idea that I was at all a part of it until like a year and a half later, a friend texted me and said, hey, you told so-and-so that you'd show him your tits if he walked in naked and you never did it. And that's not cool. And I was
like, that is wild. He walked into your writer's room naked?
Naked.
That is a crime. Wild. Fun fact.
That is a crime.
fun fact.
You could go to jail for that. You should go to jail for that.
But like, example, this is what it is, or what it was. And so, as I think in terms of sort of being the lone voice in the room, I felt more comfortable doing that as a brown person than as a woman.
That is.
And I think we might have touched on this question earlier, but circling back to it, I mean, have you seen any progress either as being a person of color or a woman in these rooms, in these meetings, dealing with these executives, especially as you've risen from being a writer to, a creator, a showrunner? I mean, has there been a journey there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, the thing is, I'm not a reliable narrator in terms of that because I have only been on my own shows for many years now. I definitely hear from friends that in terms of that stuff, it is much, much better. But I think it's very like positive. I think there are more showrunners who are more aware and intentional about that kind of stuff. So yeah. And partly because people have been talking about it more in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there seems to be like a lot of progress in that, with the whole Me Too movement and getting a lot of the toxic males like out of Hollywood and away from everybody.
Maybe put an asterisk on that though, a lot.
Well, so I guess a few big names have been sort of
names.
have been sort of drummed out of the industry. What is your perspective on the industry and where everything is going and how everything is sort of shaping up with the strikes, with the fires, with Hollywood trying to get back on its feet, the streaming wars? How do you feel about the perspective of Hollywood and how optimistic or pessimistic are you on it?
Well, I just texted my husband today because I'm in New York and he's in LA, and I said, uh, they are shooting a lot here, like in New York. So every time I go outside, basically I see a production, and that made me feel really good. I told him it's like LA 10 years ago. Uh, so that made me feel better. I had been feeling pretty down about it. Personally, I have a lot of friends who are like leaving the city, leaving the business. I brought up the 2007 strike and how if that had gone on longer, I would have had to either bail completely on TV writing or move somewhere cheaper or find another job. Uh, I am now in the position where I can float myself for a while because I've been doing this for a really long time, but not everyone is. And I feel very deeply sad for the people who have to leave. It makes me pretty upset and angry that we have tax breaks now, but where were they for the last 2 years? And there's not a lot of production in LA. I mean, hopefully it's coming back, and I do feel like there is some good forward momentum. Um, I feel like it's a little too early to be too super positive yet, but kind of like what I said before, which is all we can do as writers is write. And that had been hard for me. I had a couple months where I just felt really demoralized, and it was hard for me to write. And I think when you are feeling that way, it's important to sort of shake it up. And that's partly why I'm here in New York, is now that I'm here and I can kind of focus solely on writing, I'm feeling better about it, and I always feel better when I'm working. And the cool thing about being a writer is you can work. It's harder when you're an actor. You need a production or somebody to write something or whatever. But as a writer, you can always just sit at your table and work. And so for me, that's how I stave off the anxiety of it. But yeah, I can't be super positive. I do feel less negative than I did 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't
That's great.
think
Yeah.
business is dead or going to die, but I don't know that it's what it was, and I'm not sure that it will be what it was.
Yeah.
I want to zero in on something that you touched on. For writers who are facing that demoralizing. I mean, I've talked about this before. I know it's something that a lot of, especially emerging writers, are battling. Is just that dark cloud that hangs over you, that just saps your willpower every time you want to approach writing. How do you fight the demoralization? Are there specific things that could be advice or techniques to other people who inevitably face that same struggle? How do you beat that dark cloud?
Well, that's an awesome question too. I think it's probably different for everyone. I think there are some people who would say write every single day, no matter what, and I do think that works for some people. Um, I think for me, if I work really, really hard on something and then I take it out and it doesn't sell, I just have to recognize that there's a little bit of mourning that's going to have to happen. And um, I have to let myself just chill for a bit and then also do something to kind of shake it up a tiny bit, like writing in a different environment, starting a completely different project, starting writing in a different form, or finding somebody to be accountable to. So another writer who you promise pages to, or you can talk through ideas with. But, I think it's important to air it. So like, if you're in a place where you're like, am I even a writer anymore? Because it's been months and I can't even, like, when I open my computer up, I feel like I want to vomit. You just have to air that out. You just have to talk to people about it. And then eventually for me, I kind of know what it is that I need. Like I had never done 3 weeks alone in a room without my children, without my husband. Uh, but I was like, I knew for over a year that that's what I needed, and finally got the courage to ask for it and got it, and it's really kind of unlocked it. But I know that's like impossible for a lot of people and was for me too. But I think giving yourself the space, but then also understand and airing out your anxiety, but also understanding like you'll know deep down at a certain point what you need to unlock your writing.
Give yourself some space. I think that's something everybody can do in one form or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot we were in an interview. I just was like, a seminar. I was like, yes, I need to hear this, Robia. No, what can I do?
Oh, I feel like you're really good at it, actually. I feel like you constantly have, like, you're constantly creative and churning stuff up and coming up with ideas and moving on to the next thing. And you put out a lot of work.
You're sweet. I've slipped up. But I'm trying, when I was approached to do this podcast, I was like, you know what? That could be fun. Let's do that, So different ways to. Aw.
We love each other.
Yeah.
We have a makeshift accountability group. An accountability group is like such a funny thing. Like, hey, can you shame me?
You
or
like
something
crack the whip.
Yeah. Can you like make me feel terrible if I don't turn in these pages? I really need that. Thank you. I would only ask.
I'm already feeling terrible, but make me feel more terrible for not actually getting work done.
No.
Robia, what is your approach to writing? What is your process? Do you start with character? Do you start with an idea? Like do you say I'm going to write a feature or I'm going to write a pilot? Like how do you start that?
I usually start with character, but it's always different. I tend to do a combination of I'll hear sort of scenes a little bit or pieces of scenes and write that down, and then I'll move over to outlining. And I outline on our show, we would outline incredibly thoroughly. Sometimes I'll outline less thoroughly and then start writing and then re-outline when I get stuck. I'm very into story and structure. For me, that kind of stability and sort of scaffolding allows me to be funny and kind of write more poetically as long as I have that firmly in place. So I really pay a lot of attention to that.
I remember one thing you used to do is if you got stuck on something, you would just start like writing a scene in Final Draft, like do.
Writing a scene.
Yeah, it was cool. Like even if it was nothing that you were ever going to use, you would just like start writing something out, and it would kind of unlock something in you. I always thought that was cool.
That's true. I will try to like write from the point of view of the character sometimes, or try to write a scene, or I do a lot of note cards and different colored note cards for different storylines, and they'll be all on my wall. Yeah.
I'm the only one here who doesn't use note cards now. So I just have a whiteboard.
I also have a whiteboard.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't actually use note cards. This is all like a collection of like writer's advice and like story advice that I have heard over the years, and I just keep it up here so I can glance at it every once in a while and remind me how to actually write.
That's great.
Well, do you have any advice that you have gotten over the years? Maybe
what popped into my head when you said that
go ahead.
is the one that I've been telling myself over and over as I write this movie is done is better than good. Because
very much.
I try to make things so beautiful, and then I'm like, oh, if it's terrible, but there's like a full thing, then I can make it prettier. So
yeah,
that's the one I've been using lately.
Yeah.
On that note, I'm going to close this out by asking the closing question that we ask all our guests. What is the film or TV show or book that got you into writing and really helped you find your voice? What was that inspiration, that influence?
I don't know. The film or TV show
or
or
book
book.
or Sunday morning cartoon, or whatever it is, but something that made you fall in love with storytelling.
Um, oh, it might have been the Muppets, the early Muppets. I think that was like there was something so free about it and clever and just funny. And I remember watching it with my whole family, and I loved it.
Something so free about it.
Yeah.
There is like the structure of that show is just is was there was nothing like that at the
Yeah.
time.
It was just so wild.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For Christmas, I got my wife that shirt from the Onion that says, "I understand. No, I appreciate Jim Henson's The Muppets on a much deeper level than you."
That- yeah, my son is 10 now, but when he was 5, we got him um a collection of Calvin and Hobbes, and he has now has like a giant, like multiple books. They're all dog-eared. He has read them 1,000 times. He has a Hobbes he takes everywhere. Hobbes is with him at camp right now. And it's been so interesting to see, like, oh, he's learning comedy. Like when he was younger, he would be like, Mom, why is this funny? And he would read me, you know, a little segment of Calvin and Hobbes, and I'd explain it to him, and then but it's so fascinating to see someone like, and I'm sure I did that. I don't remember what I did it with. I read like crazy. Um, the Judy Blume books were huge for me too. I really loved those, and I loved Beverly Cleary, her Ramona books. But yeah, it's amazing to see someone taking something that's been created years ago and using it as like writing school. I love it.
I just have to say, I loved Calvin and Hobbes, and in hindsight, I actually think Calvin and Hobbes is really comforting for a child on the spectrum. I think there's something about the essence of that story, the relationship there.
Well, that's super interesting. Someone once told me that kids with ADHD are criticized or corrected 10,000 times more than their peers on average. And Calvin's like really naughty, but he's the hero. And I wonder if there's something about kids that are like behaviorally, they're not as uh applauded as their peers or something, finding because I know my son has a little bit of this too. I find us criticizing him much more than his brother. Um, I wonder if there is something comforting about like Calvin is naughty all the time and he's still awesome.
Well, he's
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Like the Muppets, he's free.
Yeah, and he's got this
Yeah.
great imagination and it's very it's huge.
Yeah. It's a safe space.
Yeah.
Oh, we've cracked something.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so heartwarming. We ended on the Muppets, Calvin and Hobbes. If we start talking about Ben 10, I'm gonna cry.
We're too old for that.
All right. I guess I dated myself a little bit. Well, then I think that is a good time to close out. Once again, a huge thank you, Rabia. This was so sweet. I just loved hearing about your story and your perspective and getting a deeper dive into your journey and you know went into making Atypical because that was a really special show.
Thank you. And it was really nice to talk to you guys. What a nice group of people.
And thank you, Nicole, again for setting this up.
Oh my gosh, of course. Thank you, Rabia, for all these thank yous.
Using Nicole's clout, we're just
Yeah.
stealing it at this point. All right. Well, you can find out more about Roadmap Writers at roadmapwriters.com. You can follow us on all the socials at Roadmap Writers across the board, including TikTok, of course.
Rabia, do you have a social that you want to plug?
I mean, I'm barely on it.
Okay.
Just her name. if you.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to plug? Project links? Any of
Anything
that?
we should be looking out for?
No, I'll let you know when they're ready.
All right. Well, we'll be on the
All right.
lookout for that.
Yeah.
Bye,
Yeah.
guys.
When it happens,
Bye.
we will plug it to our socials.
Perfect.
All
Thanks.
right. Bye, Rabia.
Bye.